and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the HCG Masters Season number 1. As things currently stand right now, we have basically confirmed our first victory for the main Swiss event. That was for the win. They were able to just outright demolish Enterprise with the score line of 2-1. And now we're going to be shifting gears as we're going to take a look at the Dabbing Koalas versus Masonic. And this is bound to be a very interesting matchup for, well, quite a couple of reasons. Masonic, they are namely the #1 seed to have come out of the regional Swiss. They maintained a flawless record thus far with a round differential of +37, outright taking 96 round victories like throughout the entire regional Swiss. So they have yet to drop a map, and Dabbing Koalas is one of the invited teams that could potentially be the first team to not only take a map off of Masonic, but also outright beat them. Either way, with that little bit of background knowledge now under our belts, let's go ahead and take a look at the map vetoes and take a look at which war zones we shall be visiting for this particular best of 3. It is bound to be very, very interesting, and is going to be Masonic to, well, outright move Mirage from this opening map veto at the very least. For those of you guys that are curious as to how Masonic have technically been performing throughout their entire run thus far, they did beat Onyx on the 10th of February on both Overpass and Vertigo. They were able to beat out Squad on Ancient and Dust 2, and then basically their confirmation, if I'm not mistaken, was versus for the win on Overpass and Vertigo, which, would you believe it, is going to be their first pick for the time being. So that doesn't necessarily seem to be any kind of surprise whatsoever. The Dabbing Koalas are going to opt to move over towards Inferno as our second confirmed map. And as I said, we will see a minimum of 2 maps, but that is all that we could see given Masonic's flawless win record thus far within HCG Masters. The next map to sadly wave goodbye to is going to be Dust 2, a map that Masonic is also relatively well versed on. They have played it, as I said, once throughout the regional Swiss thus far, but they will be removing it from play just because it's a bit of a stinky map sometimes. The Koalas are going to remove Nuke, and that makes me a sad little boy because Nuke is my favorite map in the game, and in my mind, it is the only map in the game. Nuke Force forever. Either way, that is going to leave Overpass as our final map, our decider, should we get there. And keyword is should we get there, obviously, because as things stand right now, like I said, Masonic, unbeaten. They are likely going to take Vertigo, and that is just me sort of putting 2 and 2 together and lightly interpreting the evidence that we have seen from the regional Swiss that they should take Vertigo. It is one of their favorite maps to play. It is one of their most successful maps to play as well. As far as the Dabbling Koalas are concerned, I really don't know what to expect from them. They're an entirely new roster. If you're going to check them out on Twitter, which, by the way, you should, and actually help them get their follower count out, you can go ahead and follow them at dabbling_koalas, or just dabbing koalas in one name. Go ahead and spread them some love, but they are a new roster, so we don't have any information to work with on their side at all for the time being. So it's going to be a very curious endeavor as their first outing right here within the HCG. And keep in mind, they were one of the invited squads. They did not have to battle their way through that regional Swiss qualifier to get here. So they already have that under their belt. And for their first outing within HCG, it does seem a little bit daunting for them to go up against the absolute powerhouse that is Masonic. Either way, it should prove to be a very interesting matchup between these two squads. For those of you guys that are just tuning in, obviously the repeat of the veto, it is going to be Dust 2, or excuse me, it is going to be Vertigo to kick us off. It is going to be Inferno's map number 2 and Overpass as our decider should we get there. And we should be hopping into game relatively shortly, but in case if you are looking to fill up the time, then why don't you go ahead and check out our sponsors down below in the panels. If you just scroll a little bit further, you should lock horns with Coin Motion, as well as Plasma Coin Motion, being Finland's leading crypto trading platform. If you're looking to get into the trading market of tokens for yourself, be sure to go ahead and check them out, and there are some goodies that you can use. And if you're looking to get a new gamer supplement to, well, help boost your gaming experience, go no further than Plasma. It is basically made 100% from vegan ingredients. So if you're that kind of person, then this is the perfect fit for you. And it is also 100% diabetes compliant. That means that you don't have to worry about how much sugar you're intaking, because guess what? It's absolutely none. And if you use code HCG, that is HCG, at the checkout, you will receive 10% off your first order. But with that out of the way, I'm curious to hear exactly what chat might think in terms of predictions overall. I'm curious as to how much you guys might actually know about dabbing koalas, if there's some information that you might be filling us in. Obviously, if you guys want to know what the overall roster looks like on their side, we can go ahead and quickly pull that up for you as well. And you can also be sure to check out our Liquipedia page as well. Give it a quick Google, and you can also follow along for yourself. Either way, though, just the repeat. Starting off on Vertigo. We did just also conclude our series between For the Win and Enterprise on Vertigo as well, which was a relatively one-sided showing. So hopefully what's going to take place this time around won't be as one-sided. It might not necessarily be like a 16-11 or whatever, 16-2, the scoreline that we saw last time around, but we'll see exactly how it all pans out. And we're back into game. Sorry for that little mishap, but we are back indeed. Joel on the side of the Koalas, already looking for a little bit of attack for a first engagement thus far. Masonic starting off on the T side, and they are hard on this B-bomb site execute, or this A site, excuse me, as Cox already kicks us off. Queenix got the trade, and Mackie will be able to, well, shut down Queenix in tandem with Raga on the tops. And the bomb plan has indeed gone down. Black courtesy of that one, but he won't be able to keep his life in tow any further. Urson will shut him down, and now it's down to Yunsi to see if he can clutch up big time. The defuse is just about done, and he couldn't really react in time. It was a little bit too far away and couldn't secure that one. That is going to be Masonic kicking us off right here. Very, very dominant CT side for them. And overall, on the side of dabbing koalas, it just felt a little bit disjointed. They didn't really have any rafters presence. Sure, they had ramp and crane presence, but there wasn't anything to really establish any kind of crossfires, which probably would have crutched them. And it certainly did crutch them. But now, dabbing koalas, they have been able to put up a buy, Galils with minimal utility, and they can still pack a punch. Don't write off these assault rifles too quickly just yet. On the side of Masonic, the A1S is about to make contact, but it's actually Urson to find the first opening engagement, two of which that trades back, and Tops does the exact same thing, but Raga will, at the very least, equalize things out and go above and beyond that. The man advantage now sits with Masonic in a 3-2 scenario. Dabbing koalas, they do have control of that B bomb site, but the bomb is just a little bit too far away. It's in the back of Yunsi, and he now has rotated off. Queenix taking a very aggressive stance further up. They're looking to at least pick off one more player before they can safely plant, and Queenix can't accomplish that. Joel will find him in the Galil spray. It is a little bit messy, but Joel is good for the A1S at the very damn least. So Masonic, they get themselves 2 rounds down for the count. Dabbing koalas, not exactly making that much of an impact just yet, but in due time, I'm sure they will. Keep in mind that on paper, Vertigo is technically T-sided. Not all that often you come across a T-sided map, but according to HLTV, the win ratio is 51.5% in favor of that T-side. And if you didn't tune in for our earlier matchup, it was For the Win that was able to put up quite the CT side versus Enterprise. Hopefully, this side of Masonic are going to be able to... oh yeah, right. The HUD was flipped. Apologies for that one. Hopefully, the side of Masonic will be able to live up to the repertoire of the T side and be able to string together a couple of rounds for themselves. At the very least, these Deagles are starting to come alive, and they have, at the very least, relegated dabbing koalas to 3 sole survivors on the CT side. Joel and Raga not looking all too healthy, but the same thing can be said for Block and Krogan right here. Krogan to be cleaned on up, a flashbang tossed out. If that was an HE, that could have been some lethal damage onto Black as he sat on 19. But an incendiary could keep them at bay for a little bit longer. Queenix now dead entirely, caught midair like a clay pigeon. And Block has the bomb in his back pocket. Can make a little bit of magic happen, but really got to nail those headshots. And this kind of clutch, it's the kind of scenario that really requires utmost perfection from a Deagle player. Lucky for him, he only has one player to combat over towards this A-bomb site, and that is Roga. If he gets himself a headshot, then his chance, or just the outright kill in this isolated 1v1, he could stand a chance of winning, but instead he goes for the plant, doesn't clear out the corners, and Raga will very easily capitalize on that one. Trade out the Galil for an A1S as well. And that is the damning Koalas already starting off Vertigo with a hat trick of rounds. Good start from them. Small little pause coming out, I believe, from the side of Dabbing Koalas as well. And Masonic, they now have built up a substantial economy, so they can't afford to buy. AKs to be passed around, util looking healthy on both ends, and this is the first real round of Counter-Strike that we get to witness between these two squads. As I said before, Masonic, an undefeated team within the HCG tournament itself, and Dabbing Koalas could very well be the first team to rip a map off of them or outright beat them at their own game. Maki already finding Yunsi through the smoke. A lovely little headshot. It was a bit of a wild spray, but sometimes that's just what you need to get yourself that entry, and that they have secured under their belt. Masonic continuing to falter ever so slightly as Krogan has been boosted up towards mid. That Neon Rider is looking for a couple of victims to tap on, but none have presented themselves on the side of Dabbing Koalas just yet over towards mid, but this could be it. Tapping away, Krogan fails to secure the frag, deals out a lot of damage onto Maki, but he would have wanted the kill instead. Now Masonic are left in a little bit of a stalemate. 5v4, and they've been staved off heavily on both fronts. But they're going to try their hand once more over towards this ramp side. A flashbang tossed on in, and Joel is going to meet them with some aggression of zone, but he's going to fall back ever so slightly. Give up this free real estate to Masonic. Set up a death trap over towards the bomb site itself, and can continue to hunker down. Sonic are ready to make some moves right here. Flashbangs come on out, but at the very least it's going to end off in a trade. Joel to capitalize once again with Sonic left in a 2v4 scenario now. Krogan takes to the high ground. He gets one for his troubles, but unfortunately enough for him, he was the last standing member on the T side, and he has been quickly cleaned up. The Dabbing Koalas, well, they show exactly just what they're made of in that first buy round that Masonic were able to put up. Struggling to find a gap through that smoke over there. And Black is going to take to the win. He does, at the very least, strike, but it's Joel to clap back to two of his own. Krogan gets one. He actually doubles down for a second with the Tech 9. That's some magic being worked into by those upgraded pistols, but it's going to be a little bit short-lived as Masonic. They've got one sole survivor, and that's Yunsi, who will literally be cyberbullied by all three players on the side of Dabbing Koalas. And they continue to maintain, at the very least, a flawless performance right here on the CT side of Vertigo. Masonic struggling to get themselves a footing. See how this sixth round is going to play out. Masonic putting up a second buy this time. Second of the match, just to clarify. Krogan already looking a little bit antsy. Wary of the idea that Dabbing Koalas might exhibit a little bit of aggression if it suits them. Masonic, they really don't want to be caught off guard by it. At least we're getting some advancements over towards the bomb site, and Phoenix strikes. Urson will capitalize for the trade, and Block is there to secure yet another refrag. Early engagements working heavily in the favor of Masonic as they have now established control of the B-bomb site. Joel looking to send the molly in deep. And it lands very deep, but it doesn't deal the right damage. Jinsey also shuts down Joel as he was trying to rotate over the scaffolding. Masonic have quite literally forced dabbing Koalas out of contention for this round. Sonic ramping up the race pace just a little bit towards the start, and you saw just how hungry Queenix was for those entries. I mean, he would not stop holding down W in Mouse 1. He was able to find the first. Block was already there to get themselves the trade. And, you know, you play the trades game, you are likely going to walk away with the map advantage or the man advantage and so much more map control. That's the formula the Masonic were able to apply, and it worked out wonderfully for them. Dabbing Koalas. Been ripped away from their flawless record right here. Might have been short-lived, but they still maintain a 4-round gap versus Masonic. And the cash is starting to look a little bit worse for wear on the side of dabbing Koalas. If they lose out on this one, either back to pistols or maybe a small force buy with some MP9s, depending on how things go. Their loss bonus is at 1400. Very far away from actually being maxed and very far away from warranting, well, a half buy of SMGs and maybe a FAMAS. Engagement found. Urson. Hoo-wee. That was a tough one. Exposed himself and really couldn't peek back away. Maki down below might have already been ready for the swing. Tops wasn't, though. And Joel will also capitalize elsewhere onto Krog and putting us in a 4v3 scenario. Sonic struggling. No, not struggling. Securing that trade, but has been stripped away from them again. Joel finds Yunsi, and now Queenix with the high ground will be read into the AWP. Claims him rapidly. Raga will eat that frag up any day of the week. Block with the AK sprays down one. This is maybe winnable, but Raga had just enough pixels to work with to literally click on Block to the point that it's literally a point and click adventure if you're playing an op sometimes. Dabbing Koalas are back to their winning ways once again. Small little pick up with that 1-round loss, but they got it under wraps. Hawks, what are you toying with there, bud? I think Queenix has already snuffed him out. I think they know that there's a little bit too much presence over towards this staircase, but how are Masonic actually going to deal with it? Well, Queenix has forced his way on in, faced through the smoke. He reads into Cox, narrowly good for the second one as well. Urson capitalizes as Krogan once again retorts. And somehow, the dabbing Koalas, they actually walk away from that entire scenario with a man disadvantage. That doesn't bode all too well for the CT side. It was a very creative and a very inventive play, but Masonic apparently one step ahead of them. And now they have so much more room to work with. They have options to explore. Sandbags mollied off just as a precaution. Raga with the AWP on the high ground will be mollied off his own position, so he can't use that no longer. Maki, uh-oh, recovering from the flash, he walks away with one frag onto tops. And Block will quickly stabilize the situation as the bomb plant goes down. The dabbing Koalas might want to think twice about going for this retake. That's a little bit of a funny source physics thing moment. Joel goes in for the swing. That's a lovely pick onto Yunsi right there. Relegated back down to a 2v2. A flashbang prepped and ready. Krogan to go for a swing, but nothing found just yet. Joel will take action himself as Block will punish him for doing so. And Raga realizes that clutching up with an AWP might just be too tall of a task. Heads for the hills, and Masonic, they get away with the second round right here on Vertigo. Still a really, really good stabilization coming out from MASONIC. Where's that early engagement over by B Hell? I really thought that Dapping Koalas were onto something with Cox being tugged deep behind the smoke, but then Queenix just kind of came in and utterly dismantled that early aggression and that early map control gain from Dapping Koalas. Oh, so close to perfection right there. At the very least, Krogan is willing to do some work himself. He finds a two-piece over towards B, opens things up. And versus pistols is probably not the hardest thing to accomplish. Raga, though, still with that AWP carried over from the last round, is going to have to play this very carefully. If they lose out on that AWP, it's highly unlikely that MASONIC will employ a dual op setup, but they really just want to keep it out of the hands of Raga at all costs. With the post-plant, MASONIC are looking for a couple of exit frags. A messy spray still results in a kill. And Raga, not exactly starting to sweat, but he realizes full well that he and this AWP are basically blood brothers at this stage. So DK looking to clap back with a round of their own, with a buy of their own, more importantly as well. MASONIC starting to show their true colors, starting to get a little bit of a snowball effect going on for themselves. It's 2 rounds in a row that they've already picked up. And they are looking for a little bit more. DK, not exactly the greatest state of utility to work with compared to that of MASONIC. Still could be worse. Ooh, that's a lot of damage. Joel blindly spraying through the smoke, and Tops, unfortunately, on the receiving end of it. That's a little bit gut-wrenching. All you were trying to do was throw a Molotov right there, and you didn't even get the chance to pull that one off. Block looking to secure a trade as Joel is tucked in behind the sandbags. Block needs to clear this one out, but he doesn't. He actually finds Maki, but Joel will pounce. MASONIC, I don't want to say that they're forgetting their basics, but it is CQB 101 after all. And it is Vertigo 101 to usually molly off that sandbag's position. But it was just such a well set up pinch from that duo on the side of DK. Now MASONIC, they've completely redirected their attention over towards B. We need Krogan to deliver some kind of entry, but it is heavily staffed. It's effectively a 3v3 scenario on the bomb site itself, and Krogan strikes Queenix with a double. He gets another as well onto Urson. And suddenly, this entire B bomb site hold has been utterly dismantled, leaving MASONIC in a 2v1 post-plant. AWP of Raga, not good for anything, sadly enough. Queenix had the low ground, and that's not really canon, you say, as a Star Wars fan. Anakin doesn't win that one. Well, in this universe, he clearly does. MASONIC, they hit 4 rounds thus far. Starting to look a little bit unlikely for either one of these two squads to hit double digits within the first half right here of play. I mean, sure, Dapping Koalas, they could just magically turn on red boxes on their screen and then suddenly hit 11 rounds, but now let's be fair, that's not going to happen. Not in this round at the very least. That one and only hero A1S that was in the hands of Joel has now been stripped from his cold dead hands. Krogan also capitalizes onto Maki, and AG lobbed out. Doesn't deal any damage. They don't need it to. Their rifle play has been speaking for itself as of late. Urson goes for a swing, finds one, capitalizes on the second. Tops Goodness gracious, how the tables have turned right here from MASONIC. They were in the lead, and suddenly they're not. Raga finds the head of Krogan, and Yunsi is left stranded, all on his lonesome, thinking, what the hell just happened to my team? He's got an op to play with. Full util on the bomb. Time is on his side as well. It just depends as to whether or not he finds the player over by short. And if I'm not mistaken, that's Raga keeping himself tucked in. Urson also joining in from the lower side of T ramp. Yunsi clearing out corners to the best of his abilities and going in for the plant, but doesn't spot out Raga over towards short. Dabbing Koalas played that one to perfection. Then more so, it was actually Urson right there with the A1S that really worked some magic into it. Getting that double kill over towards the B staircase, paramount stuff. That was one of those moments that can just make or break a round, and it broke it for MASONIC. Brought it to a grinding halt. And now MASONIC looking to, at the very least, come back swinging versus this dabbing Koalas buy. They're not going to be tossing the AWP onto Yunsi this time around. At least not for a while. And as we move into round number 12, Dabbing Koalas are looking to hit 8 and officially convert the half into their favor. Early util being traded out over towards this T-sided ramp. Flashbangs also being tossed out as a deterrent. Sonic are probably banking on the fact that Dabbing Koalas might just dip away because of fear of being peeked upon. But now the peaks actually start to come. They start to become a reality, and reality can be a cold-hearted little twig. That's a triple kill already bagged. Dabbing Koalas. They've been able to somehow bin MASONIC in the matter of seconds. Oh no. That is not how the round was supposed to turn out or pan out for MASONIC at all. Nope. That is unfortunate. That is unfortunate for the side of MASONIC. Dabbing Koalas hit 8, doubling the scoreline that MASONIC have been able to set up thus far. MASONIC putting a little bit more emphasis over towards mid, being kept at bay by the mollies and HCs thrown out by Cox, and now they walk into his LOS. Plenty of damage dealt out. Not enough. MASONIC, they equalize things up to a 4v4 scenario. Joel goes in for one on the tops, and guess what? That's control of bomb now with the CT side. MASONIC's gonna have to go and recover that. And Joel has already called for backup. He's got Raga to join in. Maki and Urson, they're also going to be converging on that bomb location very, very shortly. But how are MASONIC going to dig themselves out of this one? That's the question that needs to be answered. They're probably not going to dig themselves out of it at all. Another smoke grenade tossed on out, and HE in response. Finds no damage. I think at this stage, MASONIC are just playing for time. They realistically realize that going for that bomb is going to be tough, and they might just opt for exits. They somehow managed to snag it away, but it's not really all sunshine and rainbows just yet. But as I say that, Yunsi, he scampers away, and he's going to hightail it all the way to the B-bomb site. At the very least, if he gets a plant off, that is cash in their back pocket that they can use in the next round. Not harking for a win right here, just harking for a little bit of a boosted eco. Goes for a wide swing, finds one onto Joel, and now he actually stands a winning chance. If he can isolate these 1v1s, then he might stand a chance at winning. Oh, he finds Maki as well. This has gone horribly wrong for Dabbing Koalas, and Raga needs to pick up the pieces. He does with the deagle at the 11th hour. Body shots for the win. It got messy for Dabbing Koalas. They lost control of the bomb. They couldn't really keep things clean. But they still get themselves a 9th round here. And they're looking to hit double digits and get themselves a 10th. Yunsi truly was the MVP of that last round. Just for, you know, the Herculean effort of him actually trying to claw it back into Masonic's favor. And he was damn near close. I mean, in an alternate universe where he shuts down Raga with a good spray transfer or just a good spray in general, we would have been sat at an 8-5 score line. How crazy would have that been? But for now, Masonic, they're continuously staring down the barrel of a 5-round gap and is looking to be advanced even further. Dabbing Koalas are back to their winning ways. Actually, they were always in their winning ways. What am I pooping about? Kraken finds Joel, puts us back into a 3v3. It's all even Steven right now. That is a very tight angle already being held by Raga towards the bottom of T. And it's with an AWP of all things. If you miss one shot, you can basically just right off this. Oh, the smoke. Good on the no-scope. Takes up the AK, has a second player to deal with, and Raga lights the hell out of block. Doesn't get the kill, though. So darn close. At the very least, he's primed Cox and Maki to clean up the slack. Smokes and Molly's tossed on off. That's going to force Maki off of that high ground. But Cox comes in for the backstab. He gets one, control of the bomb, and the second onto Queenix. Oh no, a small oversight on the side of Masonic is really proven to be costly for them. Dabbing Koalas, they hit double digits moving into the final round of this half. And Masonic don't have the best of buys to work with, sadly enough. Raga, the ace up the sleeve. And then Cox, the jack of all trades right there. Masonic with 3 AKs, a MAC-10, and a Deeg are not looking to be in the prime position to outright win this round. The Dabbing Koalas prophecy is starting to become true. Cops willing to sprinkle a little bit of raw, unbridled aggression into this matchup. The executes have been good on Masonic. They've been able to get that bomb down countless times, but threading the needle and getting the round has been a struggle, a major one at that for them. It might just be T-sided or CT-sided Vertigo just doing its own thing. Just being the way that it is. No. But for now, we have a full-on Mexican standoff taking place on the bomb site physically. Raga to try to deny the plant, sprays away wildly as Maki draws first blood. We do also have a flank coming in from Joel, so be sure to keep your eye on that one as more chaos takes place and we slowly descend into madness on the bomb site. Maki finds Kraga and Raga with one onto Yunsi. The backstab from Joel, it bears fruit, and Cox will also shut down tops. That's as clean as it gets. You cannot find a better retake coming out from Dabbing Koalas as they hit 11 rounds. Masonic, they now have to play catch-up for what could potentially be the next 7 rounds. That is the gap that they have to work with, and it is not looking good for what is easily the best squad to have come out of the regional Swiss within the HCG Masters. We will cut to a short break, but when we return, we will see exactly if Masonic have got the goods to keep to keep Vertigo going any longer. So, the Diving Koalas, they now find themselves 5 rounds away from being the first team within the HCG Masters to strip a map away from Masonic. Oh, and if that happens, then who knows what else can happen. Diving Koalas can take it a step further and be the first team to outright claim a victory over Masonic. Obviously, the scoreline right now on Vertigo is 11-4, and things are looking very, very good for the directly invited team of the Dabbing Koalas. They had a very strong CT side. There is no other way to actually slice and dice it. I was thinking that Masonic, they would have been in the prime position to get themselves, you know, a couple of extra T-sided rounds. But it really didn't pan out to be the case, and I think the obvious turning point within that series, or at the very least that first half thus far, was the eco round that the Dabbing Koalas were able to pull up. It was, if I'm not mistaken, either round number 8 or 9, and we had one hero A1S in the back pocket of Dabbing Koalas that they had to work with, and the rest of it was just nothing but deagles, and they were somehow able to claw it back into a 2v2, courtesy of Urson, I believe it was, getting himself a double kill towards B stairs, and that was a turning point. That's where the momentum really shifted. Either way, Masonic are back on the back foot right here. 7 rounds, as I said, is the gap for them to close off. Maki already suffering and sustaining a lot of damage. Wary about presence, maybe behind that sandbag's position, but it's still a trade to come out in the favor of the Dabbing Koalas. They force their way onto the bomb site as Queenix shuts down Cox. Has been punched in, post plant confirmed. Raga easily cleaned up by Queenix right there. Urson is the next to fall. Masonic, they're looking to really come back in true fighting form right here, as Yunsi will ensure that this is a flawless 3v3 retake that Masonic are able to pull up. A great pistol round for them to have picked up. This could be the start of the comeback for Masonic. This could be a replication of the 11-4 split that they suffered in that first half. And if that's to be the case, then we certainly do have a map number 1 on our hands, ladies and gents. Moving into this next round, Dabbing Koalas, they're still not going to shy away from putting up a fight. Galils and 2 Deagles to work with, but one Galil has already fallen to the wayside. Yunsi easily snuffs out Joe amidst the smoke. And now we fall into a little bit of a stalemate as Dabbing Koalas, after suffering that opening casualty, kind of rethinking their entire game plan. It's going to be really tough for them to get an entry if they're going to be hanging that far back. As great as Masonic is as a team, I really don't think they're the kind of team that is going to go for aggressive swings. I might have to just eat my own words because Block has disproved that entire theory. Maki primed and ready to capitalize upon that. 4v4 scenarios, Top still maintains control of Rafters. He's been read into. Oh no, couldn't prioritize the right target. Urson finds him instead. Now this FAMAS is where the emphasis needs to be placed. Maki shuts Krogan down. The Dabbing Koalas, they are back in their fighting form. They're not going to be bullied around by Masonic. Yunsi, the last sole survivor with nothing but a flash and an MP9 to his name. He'll have to ace clutch this for the win. Spots out one player behind the bomb. The spray is a little bit messy. Deals so much damage to Urson, but didn't pan out to be the case. Dabbing Koalas, they get themselves a 12th round. Cohesiveness on the side of Dabbing Koalas, it looks a little bit different. It might just be a little too hot for Masonic to actually handle. I mean, easily the greatest thing that we saw from Dabbing Koalas is just how well they like to stack up on multiple engagements, ensure that they always have a minimum of 2 weapons pointing in each general direction, and we saw Masonic make a couple of mistakes on that round of struggling to prioritize the proper target. I mean, it was Krogan and Block. Or actually, no, excuse me, it was actually Tops that was playing in that Rafters position where Maki's currently stood last round. And he just couldn't, you know, magnetize his crosshair to somebody's head with the FAMAS. But apparently Maki's head is magnetized to deagle bullets, and it's been popped. So a deagle round could work out for MASONIC here, now that they do have that opening fight under their belt. The UNC is going to be traded off. Cox sustaining so much damage. The 5-7 is actually good for a hello? It's good for a collateral kill? Well, I wasn't expecting that, and I don't really think that Tops was expecting it either. 2v2. Krogan and Queenix. Ooh, the deagle spray. Ah. Close but no cigar. It's still going to leave us in a 1v1 scenario, and Krogan has recovered an AK to work with. Urson on the side of DK has 35 seconds to get a plant in motion. And Krogan is over by mid. If Urson chooses to pursue this avenue, he could lose out on his life and the round. Can check his corners. Nah, Krogan a little bit quicker on the draw and doesn't even need the AK to get the job done. Instead, does it the good old-fashioned way with the deagle. And MASONIC, they've been able to, at the very least, regain an extra round. The second CT-sided round thus far. That was a little bit funny how he connected, and this was a crucial play on the top of Rafters. Tops finding 2 for his troubles right there. Sadly, I think an AR was a little bit out of reach for him. If he managed to get himself an AK from that player that he killed that was closest to him, then he maybe could have sprayed down for a triple kill, but wasn't meant to be. Ooh. That's a lovely find coming out from Joel right there. Could have sworn there was a gap, I swear. Some of these players have, like, redonkulous eyesight. Like, you remember sometimes how your parents, they would force you to eat a lot of carrots just because, you know, it was always rumored that carrots would always, you know, improve your eyesight. I can imagine that, that Joel must have been fed nothing but carrots for breakfast. Either way, though, MASONIC, they suffered the opening casualty on the CT side. It's starting to look a little bit doom and gloom for them. Having Koalas, so many options to work with, and they've decided to rotate over towards this B side. There is something that they have to take into account. I think Queenix's beats were spot on out. Then he sprays down not one, but 2 with the MP9. Staves off so much aggression as the anti-flash doesn't come on through. Raga claws it back. And Joel is willing to cut off this rotation, but the timing is a little bit mismatched. Black, he can and will push through. Cox finds one, Tops with another. And he's left all on. Oh my goodness, what a flick over towards the Cone's position. Oh, narrowly good for the third as Cox tames the Galil and gets himself the final frag to put dabbing Koalas all the way up to 13. MASONIC not sparing any expense. They're going to exhaust all of their funds for the time being. Deagles, MP9s, and as much util as they can muster, but this really isn't a winning formula. It could be. We have seen MASONIC just pull off a pretty nice equal round. But I doubt this is going to be another one added to the history books. Joel immediately decimating both UNC Black and Tops. That's an early triple kill bagged. Wanted to go for the ace, but he was full flash, sadly enough. Queenix comes in swinging with one of his own and recovers an AK. And he's not long for this world. Maki ensures that he will be packed up nice and neatly into the forever box. Dabbing Koalas find themselves 1 round away from hitting map point and 2 from taking a map off of MASONIC. The first map that MASONIC would technically drop within the HCG Masters Season 1. All by a furry little creature who is dabbing. And for those of you guys that don't exactly know what a koala actually sounds like, I recommend you watch it on YouTube because it will ruin your image as to how cute a koala actually is. It sounds like a wet bagpipe that has no face. wet bagpipes aside, Joel immediately capitalizing onto 2. Maki finds one on Black, leaving Yunsi and Queenix to try to clean things up, but it got far too messy far too quickly. Yikes. Dabbing Koalas, they hit 15, they hit map point. And Masonic, after having expended every fund in that previous round, which was a very ill-advised call, they're left with nothing but scraps. Sure, they can bolster some MP9, some armor, and an eagle, but once again, that really isn't the formula for success. No, this spells disaster from Masonic CT side. Urson, good on the opener over towards Krogan. That's mid now opened up. And we do have some presence over towards B, but look at how split up the 4 players are on the side of Masonic. Block already shuts down Joel. Now Roga looking to toss in a Molotov. At least stave off that Heaven presence. A little bit of HE damage farmed, but not all too much. Cox looking in to join the fun. Maki is well hungry for a kill of his own, but that's versus an MP9, and he still wins the gunfight up close and personal. Raga controls the AK, tames it well, and Queenix falls. Yunsi and Block. D get MP9 combo to keep the dream alive right here on Vertigo. Doesn't seem to be the case. It might not be. We might very quickly just be speed running Vertigo and moving on to Inferno. Dabbing Koalas get themselves a bomb plant. Yunsi and Black starting to quickly run out of time. It is starting to expire as Yunsi is good for 1 onto Raga. That's an AK now recovered, and with Maki and Urson being so low on HP, this very well could work out, but Block already falls. It's down to Yunsi, and he doesn't live to see another day. And that will be the opening map of Vertigo, going in the favor of the Dabbing Koalas. Cutest animal to have the worst sound effect that it can produce. They take Vertigo 16-6, and we shall be moving on to Masonic's map pick of Inferno very, very shortly. But Masonic, they unfortunately have dropped the map. Goes to show that gods can bleed, and they can probably lose a little bit too much blood to the point of being rendered unconsciousness. It is a little bit worrisome for them, but hopefully they can come back on Inferno. We're going to cut to a short little break, but when we are back, it's off to the rolling hills of Tuscany. Counter-terrorists win. The Dabbing Koalas looking to cause one of the greatest upsets that we have seen to date within the HCG Masters Season 1. They've already taken Vertigo. They already have that belt. They also have bragging rights now because they are the first team to have safely and securely taken away a map from MASONIC. The first time the MASONICs dropped the ball, apparently, and it was quite historical to witness at the very least. It was quite the dominant scoreline as well, with MASONIC not even being able to hit double digits, and that taints their flawless record, their flawless run thus far through the HCG. They have dropped one map, and they have won 6 from the 7 that they have played thus far, but there is still plenty more to go, potentially one more, at most 2 in this series versus the Koalas. And we're going to be shifting our attention over towards Inferno, which is MASONIC's own map pick. And this technically does mean that there's no better time, realistically speaking, for the side of MASONIC to come back in a swinging fashion. Because, well, I don't want to say that the tournament life relies upon it just yet, but it would be nice for them to get themselves a win here on Inferno, to say the darn least. Either way, though, just to quickly pull up the statistics for you guys, if you are curious as to what MASONIC's run thus far looks like on Inferno, well, they haven't exactly played it all too often on HLTV in recent history during official matches, having played it twice, and not exactly having any wins. 2 losses, unfortunately. The most recent time they played it was versus Eklot, and they lost 12-16, which in essence is still a relatively close score line, but, yeah. Still no victories on their side. Although they do have a really good statistics of, 68% more likely to win after getting themselves the first frag. So they do have that working in their favor. But judging how the Dabbing Koalas played in this first matchup on Vertigo specifically, I do feel as if they do have the goods to outright cause an upset and just put MASONIC in the dirt. That's something that they were more than capable of showing us earlier on Inferno. And if they carry that momentum over in towards this matchup, then yeah, who knows exactly what's going to transpire. Either way, it all begins with a pistol round. MASONIC starting off on the CT side. Maki looking to take control, take action over by the hay bale. He will be found out. Black, what is that? That is just ruthless USP action. Raga calls it back by 1 as Queenix will be able to shut him down instead. That is the bomb dropped. And what felt like the last bullet in the chamber magnetizes itself towards the head of Joel. A very clean pistol round coming out from MASONIC despite having lost out on 1 player. That was about as good and crisp as those USP kills come around. And so the Dabbing Koalas, they will be bringing out some Deagles this time around. That's all they can really afford, given the fact that they didn't get themselves the bomb down last time. So, can the Deagles come alive on the side of DK? Probably. They came alive once or twice. Even ended up causing a couple of deco rounds earlier on Vertigo. So, could very well pan out to be the case. Blocked with the MP9 in close proximity. Could have tossed an HE and farmed a little bit of damage, but there's no way he could have known about that. We obviously have the benefit of the X-ray. Contact found. No kills coming out just yet from either side. Maki takes a boatload of damage. Can't deal enough towards the side of Krogan, though. And the Koalas have yet to actually make a move. They're still stuck over towards that T ramp side. And the moment that they turn this corner, that kill feed is going to get lit up quite a bit. But Tops really doesn't want to play with fire. They fall off instead and call for backup. UNC is already rotated off. Dabbing Koalas. A little bit of indecisiveness being showed out. And they have 20 seconds left to get this rotate under wraps. Oh, what an opener coming out from Maki. Blocks have been binned. Queenix is now left all on his lonesome to hold down the fort. He finds one onto Maki. The second kill comes on out, but he will be traded off yet again. Krogan finds Raga elsewhere over by Binans. That puts us in a 2v3 scenario. This eco round coming out from Dabbing Koalas is looking to be powerhouse thus far. Plant secured. Flash is good for Cox to capitalize. He's left on 1 HP though, and he's got to scamper away back to safety. Joel in lower pit might have the element of surprise on his hands. Smoke's coming on out. HE as well. Joel with the A1S finds one. Cox to capitalize as well. DK with nothing but deagles and dreams tie up the score line. And you really start to you really got to start to feel for Masonic right here. It's never fun being at the mercy of a CT side economy. And that was about as bad as it could have actually gone for Masonic. We have entered the darkest timeline. Krogan eats up a grenade. And Tops is going to eat up a little bit of lead as well. Usually that's not too good for you. I would advise against doing that. And DK have effectively got all the time in the world to do as they see fit with Inferno. Joel mauling off shadows. Nobody's there. You do have Black that's a little bit closer over towards the hay bale. And look at this. Masonic have made the call to rotate the entirety of their roster over towards A. And it could not have been a worse timing. Like water, they flow out. Some more takes its place. Dabbing Koalas up control of the bomb site now. Player over towards Coffin might be able to stave off this plant. And that's Krogan, who has been forced off courtesy of the Molotov. Still no kills yet to be found, despite contact was made a long time ago. And Masonic, what are they doing here? I think they're just trying to sniff out Joel, and Joel might be in over his head right here with the AK. He at the very least gets one onto Queenix. Now Masonic. They're looking to maybe shut him down and get away with his AK. How much further down the rabbit hole do they go? Maki already shutting down UNC elsewhere. Krogan couldn't secure an exit either, and this is looking down in the dumps for Masonic as well. Those deagles and armor will be carried over to the next round, which is still just, you know, a little bit of an investment. Roughly $1,350 to $1,700. But either way, it is not looking pretty in the slightest for Masonic. Loads of players are still under 2K. And it is going to take quite some time, probably another 2 rounds, including this one, until MASONIC can get their eco to a stable position where they can put up a buy. We do have a B gamble stack going on, with Tops being left all on his lonesome. That totem of CTs could prove to be very, very detrimental if one poor wandering soul on the side of DK accidentally turns that corner. That is the one corner you do not want a Ferrari peak, ladies and gents. And dabbing Koalas with so much free real estate to work with. They're going to send a couple of players out over towards CT as well, just to confirm how clear the map actually is. But it seems as if dabbing Koalas, they still want to go for this B-bomb site execution. They do have to wait, however, though, for, well, the 2 players wrapping in Joel and Raga to find impact. Oh no, Cox. Oh no. Info spotted out at Joel. Oh, it's an entire bloodbath that MASONIC are unfortunately the victims of. They get away with 1 kill onto Cox, and that's it. If it wasn't for that wraparound that Joel and Raga pulled off, could have been a completely different conclusion to the round. MASONIC could have probably gotten themselves another round or so, or at the very least another 1 or 2 kills, recover those rifles, and maybe put up a fight. But that's all in a different timeline. Not on this particular version of Earth. A little bit PTSD inducing. Window smashing. It's got Joel all riled up. Maybe a little bit paranoid. Ooh, Queenix, what an angle to work with. Spots Joel just as he was about to creep out from Boiler. Urson might be next to follow as well. DK are starting to gain a lot of territory, but look at what MASONIC are doing. They're starting to ingress back over towards long. Tops had nearly taken off by a vodka bottle as Tops gets for another 2-piece right there. Black to join in on the fun, and suddenly DK trying to piece together exactly what hit them. Maki is left all on his lonesome. He could maybe shut down Krogan and get himself a free plant, but he's making far too much noise. He is stampeding his way right into the MP9 of Krogan. And MASONIC to come back for the second round, keeping dabbing Koalas in check just for a little bit longer. But dabbing Koalas, they still have so much money to work with, to the point that it's very scary, and MASONIC are not quite out of the woods just yet. Early ground already being taken with the AK. Protocol HE's tossed out over towards sandbags, and Tops is looking a little bit worse for wear. Same thing can be said for Cox and Maki. So much util damage already being traded out. Logan is hungry for some frags. He gets one. Cox trades him off though. So technically no harm, no foul. Still DK are looking a little bit worse for wear, as I said, in the HP department. The flashbang comes on through, not to be followed up though by MASONIC. They're giving dabbing Koalas a little bit more space to work with. Trying to set up a death trap as Yunsi has already rotated over towards CT. Not slowed off though. Flashbang comes on through. Raga finds Tops. He's going in for seconds. Ooh, narrowly unscopes at just the wrong moment. And I'll have to forfeit that ground, but at the very least, dabbing Koalas have secured that man advantage. And if they now redirect their attention towards A, which they are likely going to do, they only have to shut down Queenix. And Queenix is about to be in for a world of hurt. Tucked in deep at the back of the bomb site. He is starting to get a little bit worried. Somebody strikes, then where's my team? Where are the lads when I need them most? I'm about to turn the corner. And it's a clean pickup for Joel right there. Black and Yunsi. Not even going to really think about going for a retake. having Koalas on their own map pick. Did have to correct myself for a little bit earlier. I thought this was MASONIC's map pick. It is dabbing Koalas' map pick of Inferno. I've taken a much more substantial lead, doubling the scoreline that MASONIC has already been able to put up. And, you know, obviously with Vertigo having been MASONIC's pick and still ending up in DK's favor, you start to really wonder to yourself how this series can start to transpire. MASONIC don't have the funds to put up yet another buy. Can probably afford another A1S, maybe an MP9 as well, and they will have to force out everything that they have in this round. And if they lose it, it will be the last buy round that they can put up for a while. That is not a position that the side of MASONIC really want to find themselves in. Raga looking for the opening frag. Oh, that should have connected right there. Kroggen's gonna thank his lucky stars that he still has his life in tow. Black, not so much. Kiss goodbye as Tops looking to get antsy. Kroggen was right there to shut down Raga instead. MASONIC, they've stripped the AWP out of the hands of the DK side. But it's not too easy to recover. That's the only issue. They will drop down another smoke and see what they can fish out. Perfect Molotov, but that's unfortunate as Queenix gets away with his life. He will hold down a very tight angle, sprays down 2, has control of the bomb as well. Information can be relayed as now it's all down to Yunsi to hold down the line. He sprays down 1, bomb once again falls. Joel to clutch up big time, 45 seconds left to his name. Sprays down, oh, can't even spray down 1 over towards Library. That was a clean swing coming out from Kroggen. MASONIC, they tamed the beast. And it might be a little bit of a stretch to call a Koala a beast, but they tame it nevertheless. Now the Koala's looking to put up their last buy. Maki eats up a little bit of HE damage, but he's still relatively healthy. Sat on 66 HP. Looking to go full Emperor Palpatine and execute his HP's order. Joel finds Queenix. Not killed though. Still fishing for it just a little bit. He's not willing to give this up. No, he's made Queenix feel a little bit too uncomfortable. That's map control forfeited by MASONIC. Joel once again on a rip and tear. He's so advanced up. Through the smoke, he has his back turned. Oh, that timing is horrible for MASONIC. And Queenix is looking to pick up the slack. He's been read into by Urson. This is falling apart rather quickly for MASONIC. They are out of control. Kroggen looks to regain a little bit of his own block with 1 onto Urson too. That evens things out to a 3v3. Cox narrowly avoiding death right there. Blocked over by the hay bale, spots out the feet but can't capitalize onto Cox. Kroggen with an incendiary deep into the bomb site and with a spray down finds some damage. You need more than damage to win these retakes. Tops. Kroggen a tag team duo in the 2v3. Been walled off and the spray comes through. Sent down range. Planted for short. There's no way that they can safely defuse this. And they've called it. It's off. Despite their best efforts, they really couldn't secure an entry. They couldn't really narrow it down to a 2v2 scenario and actually give them a fighting chance. That wall of smoke was just a little bit too much to handle. Covering the player over towards pit. Maki keeping himself tucked in by apps, not swinging unless it was needed. And Raga holding down short and the bomb itself with the AWP. That's a headlock. All you can really do is submit if you're MASONIC. Not wasting a single precious moment in time, looking to advance quickly up to Venus as a boost comes out. Kraga, good for one onto Kragan. That's what you love to see. Man advantage already claimed by DK as Amaki is looking to further it a little bit. Cox is really the only player that stands on the B-bomb side, and Block is rotated back to join him in. Although he's going to remain flexible between the two. First response unit being called where he needs to be the most. Cops? Oh, found out so easily by Urson. Made it look ridiculous. And Joel had a shoulder peek to work with from Queenix. Finds one before finally being traded off, but at this certain stage, Masonic have suffered far too many casualties and sustained too many losses to even think about another retake. This is sadly the developing trend that we're seeing on Inferno from Masonic. Dabbing Koalas will happily gobble up as many of these rounds as they can. So as we move into round number 10, Dabbing Koalas in the lead on the T side, 6-3. Masonic still not being able to put up a really good buy. They do have those 2 rifles carried over from the previous round, but everybody else, they may as well be relegated to sitting idly by. USPs to their name, no upgraded pistols whatsoever. It really is starting to look a little bit down in the dumps from Masonic's CT side. So Yunsi, though, coupled with the flashbang, is good for the entry, and look at this aggressiveness Masonic are exhibiting. Kragan already up close and personal with the USP will fall off slightly tops. Oh no. Still though, Maki will be able to secure the trade, and it's going to get a little bit worse from that moment onwards. Yunsi was stuck over towards Car. Oh, deep inside of the smoke, he will be found out. In control of the B-bomb site, has collapsed yet again. Masonic are desperately struggling to hold on to B. That time they had the right idea, but a few engagements didn't go their way and it just fell apart. As much as Queenix would like to get his hands on a rifle, it's too far away. Those rifles are being swarmed around by T's. Practically circling around like a couple of vultures. Either way, DK, they do get themselves that 7th round. And they're looking for, obviously, so much more. Looking to hit double digits and try to replicate that exact same first half scoreline they put on Vertigo, 10-5, maybe even go a little bit further. Yunsi's going to be donning the AWP, and with no armor to his name, he is quite naked. How is this AWP going to be utilized? It is over towards B, and it's holding a tight angle over towards the half wall, so availability for a good opener is there, definitely on the side of Masonic, but that wall of smoke basically renders that option completely useless. More utility being traded on off. No contact or damage yet to be dealt from either side. Rogan has another flashbang primed and ready as Tops finds first blood onto Cox. Doesn't go for the swing around the corner though, so Urson, or excuse me, Roga gets away scot-free from that part. And Queenix over by Shadow does have a really good crossfire established together with Black, so they can hold on to top mid really, really well. The flashbang does block it off. Queenix sprays down, but can't walk away with the frag. Yunsi retorts with one onto Joel. And suddenly Yunsi with it all to do. High ground available. And the off shot connects onto Raga, jumps up. His way up the Jenga block, but you can't do any more work. Maki instead claws it back into a 1v2, and he's left all on his lonesome. He can secure the plant right here. What more can he do? A flashbang comes in. The anti-flash was so good from Maki. He dodged it, but Krogan peeks at just the right time and catches Maki off guard. MASONIC, they keep things from going from bad to worse. They get themselves a 4th round right here on Inferno.
Bomb has been defused. Counter-terrorists win.
And they can continuously put up buys, but so can the dabbing Koalas. They still have plenty of cash to work with. So much so that it could actually warrant an op to be bought, but I don't think Roga really wants to take up that responsibility just yet. He is more than comfy playing the rifle role. UNC with a flick. Oh, it tags Maki down to 36, I believe, unless he chewed up that damage from HEs. He bits it. Well, he bit off a little bit more than he could chew, and he pays a very costly price. Maki left on 12 HP. One more HE and you're actually good. But unfortunately enough for MASONIC, they don't have an HE that is readily available. That's with MASONIC instead of Pit. So DK have redirected their attention and rotated all the way up towards top mid. Protocol smokes to be tossed out over towards long, but Block has already repositioned himself. That one's actually over towards library. Dabbing Koalas, now that they've smoked off arches, we know what their game plan is. A full exec over towards A. A 5v4 to ensue as Urson, well, he finds one. Queen extends his ground, but not for too long. Raga with the AK will shut him down instead. Access to the A bomb site has been granted, and Krog in the top as well. As CTs usually do in the current climate of CS, they have to force save in this instance. And unless a miracle is to be blessed upon MASONIC from the heavens, dabbing Koalas are going to walk away with an 8th round. 100% in this instance. T-side is looking strong. They've effectively converted the half. And with 3 rounds left to go, you start to wonder, how is this split going to turn out? 11-4, 8-7? Tough to call. But a 9th is surely going to be on the board. MASONIC have to force out attack pause. See exactly what their game plan is going to be. And the economy isn't really treating them all too pretty. MASONIC at risk of dropping a second map, and more importantly at risk of losing out on their first matchup within HCG at the hands of dabbing Koalas. Two upgraded pistols and a USP plus 2 rifles on the side of MASONIC. We're going to need those rifles to put in the work. Smoke's already tossed on off from both sides. They've exchanged util. And MASONIC will continue to hold down on that banana side and advance a little bit further. Cox isn't ready to go for a swing just yet. Pops is also right there to assist. It's he actually goes to the over and finds it, but he will be sprayed down. Krogan, oh my goodness! Through the smoke as it started to dissipate, he somehow gets 3 kills for his troubles. Working in that magic. Keeping the CT side alive for MASONIC. In a round that they might have not had any business winning whatsoever, the spray down is good. And the tide has shifted away from DK. It is now a tsunami collapsing upon them. Ursa and Joel. Now it's just Joel. And he's too far away to secure a trade. A little bit too late as well. In this instance, pack your bags. Forfeit the round. Still gonna look for some magic, but the P250 is a little bit too strong. Maybe not as good as Cadian's, but hell, it's good enough for the round. Masonic, they hit 5. They can still get themselves a 7 to 8 split in this instance, and given the fact that Dabbing Koalas are not sparing any expenses whatsoever in this next up buy, well, if they're able to dismantle the economy here, then a 7 to 8 split is looking very realistic. Let's see. Once again, Masonic are looking for an entry over towards this side. I do think that Yunsi was prepped and ready to get a boost kill, but that angle's been smoked off quite some time ago, and he does eat a frag grenade. The damage dealt to him. Oh, Urson gets the jump onto Black. That should have been that should have been a CT-sided kill. Probably 9 out of 10 days of the week. In a realm where weeks were 10 days and not 7, obviously. Joel finds Queenix as he was trying to scamper away back to safety. The 3v5 now left for Masonic to either clutch up, but more realistically, just call the save on once again. Inferno can be such a punishing CT-sided map. And you can see Dabbing Koalas, they've already put on their Davy Crockett hats. They're willing to go on the hunt. Like a swarm of vultures, they will collapse upon the CTs. It's Tops to fall next, and Yunsi to try to keep this op intact. He already walked away with 1 frag. But he's got a little bit more work to do if he wants to keep the rifle alive. Sound cues left, right, and center as the Deagle is whipped out. He gets 1. CT side presence. Does he read into it? Yeah. He finds Joel. The 3rd. Yep, it's good. Great hold coming out from Yunsi. And he keeps the AWP intact. Can drop for his teammates as well. So not all hope is technically lost on the side of Masonic to get themselves a 6th round over here, but we really need a little bit more decisiveness when it comes to these holds. Masonic, it doesn't feel as if their anchored positions are all too impactful or valuable. And I understand them really wanting to take risks, just the same way that Queenix did. Or the same way that Block did, excuse me, over towards that that balcony peak. But that is not really the kind of play that you should be going for. It's a little bit over-ambitious. Played a little bit more by the book. They could walk away with the victory, but Kraken thinks otherwise. Joel somehow doubles down and finds Queenix and Yunsi. Tops is the next to fall, and Black is left all on his lonesome within the smoke. Pierce through it, finds 1, 2, and 3 right there. That's controlled the bomb for him. Glory could very much be stripped away from the Dabbing Koalas as Urson and Joel need to recover it. And Block is full on repositioned. Dabbing Koalas have so many options and they don't want to bite over towards A. That zone's a little bit too hot. They've instead rotated back towards CT. And that moment of realization is still going to kick in for Block. That he has to hightail it all the way towards B, likely over towards Banana. And that's where Joel is already sat upon. The moment that Black's turned this corner, could lose his life. It's going to be a tight angle. He makes a little bit too much noise, and Joel was more than ready for it. Dabbing Koalas, they hit double digits. They secure 10 rounds versus Masonic's 5. It got a little bit close, and yeah, obviously, the side of Masonic, they could have really put themselves up in a position to win out that 6th round, but it really didn't pan out to be the case. Joel was ripping and tearing his way through CTs on an app. He was just having a field day. There is no other way to describe it in that very, very last round. Either way, before we continue the second half and what could very much be the last potential 15 rounds of this series, we've got a short little break. So go ahead and get yourself a snack, get yourself some drink, something to get hydrated, and we'll see you back for the second half of Inferno. And now the side swap is going to be coming around. Masonic struggling to really tame that CT side. Sure, they were able to get themselves 5 rounds, but it was very, very labored. And they couldn't really afford to go for retakes the vast majority of the time. It is safe to say that the dabbing koalas are really on the right trajectory towards getting themselves a quick and easy 2-0 over here. It all really depends on how this next pistol round is going to go the moment that we hop back into game. But if the koalas get themselves this pistol, you can basically write it off as a koalas win. I am almost entirely sure about it, because they have really come in and proven to us that gods can indeed bleed. Masonic struggling to show up. They struggled to show up on Vertigo, and if this T side really doesn't come alive, then they are going to be in dire straits. Contact found as Urson takes a boatload of damage, but Joel claps back. Yunsi retorts with one of his own. He actually gets a second kill with the P250. That's a good little display of adeptness. But it's still going to leave us in a 3v3. Urson, the only player on minimal HP. We do have a kit in play. Should a post-plan scenario start looming over the dabbing koalas. Cox looking to tap away. Headshots don't connect. Bullets don't either. And now he's really starting to feel the heat. He might have to get out of the kitchen. A 2v2 over by Church, now converted into a 2v1 as Raga is looking to take up the reins. Finds one. Narrowly the second as well. Onto block. It's a little bit messy. Oh, but he gets aggressed upon, and now it's all down to Erson. 5 HP to their name. As Block and Krogan do have the bomb, and they might rotate off towards CT to see if they can slip past him, but no, that's not going to happen. Urson finds one tap, narrowly gets the second as well, but Krogan a little bit quicker on that draw. And he shuts it down. Masonic, they get themselves that pistol round. Now there's hope for the side of Masonic. Sure, they might have not gotten themselves the bomb plant, which may hurt their overall economy. You get a bomb plant down, you get an extra 800 bucks to work with, which could have warranted an extra Galil or an AK buy, but they still have 3 MAC-10s and 2 AKs versus a Scout, Eagles, CZ, and MP9 on the side of dabbing koalas. Oof. This could turn out to be a very, very spicy round. Scout doesn't connect, but there's the headshot onto Yunsi as Melon popped. Queenix at the top of apps finds a lack in Joel. He also doubles down for yet another one, putting in so much work with that MAC-10. And I do love the propaganda, and there's no better way to actually, you know, spread out that MAC-10 propaganda. It's a great weapon. You use it. It's memey at times, but it can be a tool of devastation in the right hands. Roga also felled at the hands of Black. 4v2 scenario to ensue. Cox and Maki with the Scout and the MP9 opting to actually fade away and keep the investments alive and carry them over into the next round. Sonic, they double down, get themselves 2 rounds down for the count. We're going to be turning our attention over towards dabbing koalas to see exactly how they're going to clap back in this series, or in the second half at the very least. They are edging themselves ever so closely towards, as I said, a nice 2-0 victory. But Masonic's going to make them work for it. They're not going to go quietly into the night just yet. DK. Not a whole lot of money. They're still going to buy up just a little bit. A Deagle and a CZ once again to work with. And I really loved what we saw from Queenix in that very last round with the MAC-10 finding 2 lovely little entries. He's actually since taken up the AK instead and dropped that responsibility over towards Yunsi, who's been able to find the opener onto Joel inside of Boilers, so that's already good for business. Secondary frag comes out onto Raga. Krogan was more than ready for that one. 5v3 continues. Urson inches and pixels away from getting the headshot onto Queenix and a potential AK in his hands, but it's not going to pan out. CZ comes alive for one, and so does the MP9, and it's just the SMG in the hands of Maki. Try to clutch up. Boiler is no longer accessible, and that was a perfect death trap set up by Queenix and co, but he still loses out on the rifle, and that's now fallen into the hands of Maki. He goes for a swing and takes a lot of damage, somehow secures the frag onto tops. The flashbang tossed out as he goes for the drop to the hay bale. Block only meters away from him. Ooh, but a tight angle being held through the crates is going to prompt Block to get the kill. An 8th round secured by Masonic right here as they bag 3 in a row to start off the T side. This is obviously where the pacing is going to start to shift. Dabbing Koalas, they do put up a buy. They once again have Raga taking that personified AWP. Not too out of the ordinary to see him looking for a frag over towards ramp, but no one's on the receiving, and Masonic, they know a little bit better than to peek that. And they have been placing a lot of emphasis on apps time and time again in the last couple of rounds on their T side. It has worked out to great success. Dabbing Koala is still yet to figure out how to properly defend against it. Long smoked off as well. But a lot of emphasis over towards short on the side of DK. Spray through. Looking to deal some chip damage. Not much found. The AWP of Raga just misses the shoulder of Krogan. Flashbang comes on through, and Queenix finds Urson as well. Raga, unsuccessful flick. Krogan capitalizes instead. Maki retorts with one of his own. Joel from inside a pit. Dodges the flash, gets himself a frag onto the block, will smoke himself off as Cox pulls down the ground from within. Maki comes in as well for one of his own. Dabbing Koalas, they secure a man advantage, and they secure the round. Tactical pause. Words are hard sometimes, as I'm sure you know. Tactical pause being called off by Masonic to see exactly how they're going to go about this particular buy. They have tons of money to play with. Quite obvious. You bring out, for example, an AWP, throw it onto black. There's plenty of options to work with. It's instead going to be UNC to take up that particular role. But it is going to be a little bit of a sketchy buy coming out from Masonic. 1 AR, 2 SMGs, or 1 SMG and 2 Deagles. Looks rough. I'm just still curious as to why Cox is holding on to an ump. Who in their right mind goes for a UMP versus the MP9? You've got to be downright crazy to do that, I hear you say. The UMP's fine. It's okay. Not exactly the best bang for your buck in the SMG department, but they can definitely put in a little bit of work. Maki already looking to stave off his two-sided presence over towards ramp. Tops looking to retort a little bit, blindly spraying through the smoke. Nothing to be found. Still a very reserved approach coming out from Sonic. This boost, well, it's claimed many a victim in the Inferno matches that we have seen today. And Maki is looking for some of his own, but doesn't even get a chance to pull the trigger. He'll have to sadly fall off that angle. Sonic are quickly starting to realize the time is expiring. 40 seconds left. You have to prompt yourself in execution. You have to make this buy come to life, because otherwise you've spent nickels and dimes for nothing. Smoke grenade to be tossed out. Krogan to start the charge. He falls right into the UMP that finds so much action. Still, though, is Maki to hold down the fort. Control of the bomb now secured as he gets himself a third frag. The USP whipped out versus Yunsi. Can't exactly read into it, and now Yunsi with it all to do. The flashbang toss out and a push to come on through. He will secure the plant, so that's a little bit of cash. If he got that quick scope, my oh my, we could have had a round on our hands, but nah. Not to be the case. The dabbing koalas, they have this one under wraps. They get themselves a 12th round, expanding the gap all the way to 4. Masonic are trailing behind. And now Masonic putting up, once again, a little bit of a pistol buy this time around. No util to actually back it up, but they do have the shots to back it up. That's a nice entry coming out from Yunsi. Raga probably staring at his screen in awe, thinking, what the hell just happened to me? You, my friend, were decimated and disrespected. Yunsi capitalizes for yet another one. Maki, though, once again, in his element. Gets himself a double kill. He has been putting in so much work in this series. Froggen with the AWP just narrowly trails away. Urson finds Black over towards Mexico. And now Froggen is starting to feel the heat. Has to whip out the Tech 9. But Joel finds him instead and finds him with his pants around his ankles. Masonic, once again trailing, but that's not to say that, well, Yunsi didn't actually, you know, get off some really nice shots right there. Dabbing Koalas put themselves 2 rounds away from map and series point, 3 away from becoming the first team within HCG to defeat Masonic. Joel charging in through that smoke. Oh, this is immaculate what he's toying with, but does he check 9 o'clock? No, he doesn't. Queenix collects the freest kill of his life. And with that entry under their belt, Masonic, once again, have so much room to do whatever they would like. Froggen will have to smoke off long. Prompt to push to come on through as the flashbangs rain true. Urson has been found. Fox to hold down the sights, and yeah, he's quite frankly just been cyber-bullied out of existence. Maki and Aroga to keep the A1S and the AWP alive, and Queenix knows better than that. He's going to go on the hunt. Timing's a little bit off, and he definitely could have caught Maki off. But either way, this is a good start off for Masonic. Sure, they dropped off a couple of rounds, 3 to be exact, and that does mean that the scoreline within the second half exclusively is 3-3 now, but Masonic will be able to put up a 4th, totaling up to 9. The Koalas can still put up a good buy in this next round to see if they can keep the magic alive on the CT side. But if this one goes south for Dabbing Koalas, then not only will Masonic have achieved double digits on the scoreline, but they will have broken the economy of the CT side, and that's when Masonic can really start to run away with the T side and look to equalize and tie up the scoreline. Work being done over towards Banana, but Dabbing Koalas have effectively exhausted all of their Molotovs. Actually, no, they still have 3 out of 5, so it's still okay. Still okay. Looking to gather a little bit more chip damage over towards Lumbar, but that's just off and waste a piece of utility as a swing come through from Yunsi. He sprays down 2, beautifully taming the Kalashnikov. Dabbing Koalas, what happened? In the blink of an eye, the bomb site just crumbled. All 3 anchors dead in the water. That's a little bit unfortunate for Queenix. Urson does, at the very least, get away with one. Joel finds the clay pigeon that is Krog in midair. Yunsi with another on the That's going to leave Urson, the sole survivor on the CT side, to wildly try to spray down Black. He does secure the frag right here. So he can narrowly, I wanted to say narrowly walk away with the AK or the AWP, but Yunsi was on the case. And with that, the economy on the side of dabbing koalas is not looking all too pretty. It's not looking very good either. MASONIC, they have broken the trend. They have hit double digits themselves. They can definitely get themselves in 11th round, but after that, I'm not the one you should be asking for predictions. No, sir. Good op shot coming out over towards Maki. Now that Yunsi has got the ball rolling on the side of MASONIC, he can really start to activate and really start to rack up numbers with the AWP. Queenix looking for an entry of his own. Taps. Slow peek coming out, not revealing himself all too much to Urson as Krogan also finds Raga having a smoke on the balcony. Cox and Joel with a Deagle and a P250 to their name, as well as a flashbang, are going to have to duel up here and likely go on the move. Try to advance a little bit further through Banana. And this is going to be a free plant for MASONIC, basically as free as they come. MASONIC, they will successfully close off that gap, and now only 2 rounds really sit between MASONIC and DK. It's starting to look so much more recoverable for MASONIC right here on the T side, and the reality of going to our decider map, which, in case if you guys don't know, is Overpass, is starting to look relatively scary for DK. That means Koalas putting up another buy, which could be the very last that they put up for quite a while. Cox once again rocking the ump. It did find quite a little bit of damage the last time he whipped it out. Not exactly a kill, but still decent damage for a 9mm. But I'm not all too convinced it is the best weapon to bring out. Urson up close and personal. Sneaking suspicion that somebody's already made their way to the bedroom. Oh, he looks away at just the wrong moment. Kragan's gonna punish him for that before walking right into the LOS of Joel, who lights the hell out of Yunsi. And Maki also doubles down for yet another one onto tops. Despite suffering the opening casualty, dabbing koalas have come back in full force, flexing their muscles just a little bit, dealing so much damage to the point that MASONIC's last 3 survivors don't even total up to 100 HP. Cox with the UMP farms frags. Black and Yunsi fall. And now it's all down to Queenix. Ooh, yeah. That's more or less how you could have expected that engagement to go. Dabbing koalas, they hit 14. They find themselves 1 away from map and map and series, 0.2 away from forcing MASONIC to do it all again within our Swiss competition. MASONIC putting up yet another buy. Yunsi's AWP really couldn't find any impact in that very last round. It was actually staved off quite heavily by Joel playing inside a shadow, which just really goes to show how tentative you can be on the CT side if played patiently. It does seem that, like, that was actually a tag found onto Raga from Yunsi. narrowly walking away with the entry over towards the top of mid, as the blood splatter indicates. Now the question still remains, how are MASONIC going to treat this? What are they going to do about it? The swing comes out from Maki. He walks away with one. It is traded, however, back by Knots. So Black's efforts have been for Knots. Queenix to emerge through the Apps bout, but he'll be shut down if he doesn't check his right-hand side. And Joel goes in for another as he walks away with a double kill in the round. Cox doing the exact same thing with a 2K. Dabbing Koalas, they hit 15, and now the pressure is starting to ramp up for MASONIC. And the buy really can't support a winning condition anymore. Sure, you've got Yunsi with the AWP and you've got Queenix with the AK, but for the rest, you've got 9mm weapons. That caliber really won't compete all too well versus what Dabbing Koalas are bringing to the table. And speaking of what they've brought to the table, yeah, it's a double-off setup. Roga and Cox fishing for entries. Yunsi nearly had his head cleaved cleanly off his shoulders. And Krogan eats a grenade. Another one well placed like that, and you'll find yourself staring at Krogan's name on the kill feed. The push starting to come on through, but flashbangs don't look all too well placed, as MASONIC can't really force their way into the B bomb site. And even if they do, they have 3 CTs to deal with. Flashbang tossed on through by Maki, and he shuts down tops, looks for a second, lights the hell out of block. And he will be traded off though, however, so not all hope is just lost for yet on the side of MASONIC in this 4v4 scenario. Looking for Yunsi to be the tip of the spear, to lead the charge, see if they can carry MASONIC onwards and upwards to victory. But they can't safely push just yet. We'll smoke off Coffin and CT as well. Now they have something to work with, but Cox has already spotted out the gun barrel. Flashbangs are perfectly timed, but Joel was more than ready for it. He finds 2 before Krogan secures the trade, and Cox, left to fend off for his own, will be sprayed down by Yunsi. 2 wildfires now to stave off this post-plant retake. Roga and Urson. I think Roga's looking for a weapon to work with, otherwise it's just the USP unless he's got something on his back that you can see from this place. But Yunsi can see heads to click on. Urson gets one. Roga to see if he can clutch up. Has an idea as to where Yunsi is actually currently held up, but same thing can't be said for Krogan behind New Box. He does smoke off one, finds the head of Yunsi. Now it's all down to Krogan to see if he can keep the dream alive. Time is starting to expire, and Roga already gone past the point of no return. Krogan finds him. MASONIC, they won't be pushed off the cliff just yet. They're hanging on by a thread. And it's a very thin one at that. Still a very valiant effort coming out from Raga. It was just a little bit of a shame that he couldn't have swung with his teammate at the time being, because he only had a USP and had to pick up a different piece of weaponry. But let's see how things are going to transpire in what could potentially be the last round. Once again, MASONIC's backs up against the wall. Queenix looking for an entry, checking left, right, center, spots out the gun barrel, and it's a clean sweep coming out from MASONIC right here over towards Apps. Dabbing Koalas. Cox and Maki. 2v5 scenario with a safe call coming out as they have no cash in their back pockets whatsoever. MASONIC, they suddenly flip the switch. And they're suddenly in ripe form. Maki to lock horns. 2 players inside the library, finds one, and the second onto Queenix as well. MASONIC just now actually confirming the bomb plant, and Maki thinks he wants to go on an adventure. Not that I don't condone this, but it's a little bit ballsy. Never mind, they're instead going to try to save up on the AKs and drop that from Moss. Cox and Maki are definitely not going to be going for this. That means they will have another 2 chances to close off the series as Masonic hit 13.
Terrorists win.
Dabbing Koalas. I genuinely wouldn't be surprised if Cox and Maki are once again going to be sitting on the bench for this particular round, because those rifles are going to be very valuable in the next round. It's basically safe to say that unless Dabbing Koalas literally pull a magic bunny out of the top hat, that they're going to lose this round, but they still want to keep that A1S and the AK intact versus the rifles, and then just go guns ablaze in the very last round. Smoke's tossed off. Locks off long. Dabbing Koalas. Oh, look at what they've done. They've rotated each and every single member over towards A. It might seem a little bit premature, but no more risks. No more playing around. No more tomfoolery. They're willing to outright shut down Masonic right here and right now. But this all hinges as to whether or not Masonic are opting to bite into this A site take. They might have a change of heart. This call can very well make or break the round from Masonic. Blocking tops. Dueling up as scouts, looking to gather as much intel as possible. Yunsi is still very timid about going for a swing, but no, Masonic, they're instead going to commit to the A push, and it's going to be a bloodbath as 30 seconds are left on the clock. Masonic have to commit. Maki, shut down. Oh, that's a good headshot find by Yunsi. Now with 20 seconds left, the push comes on through from Masonic. It's a little bit of a bloodbath as the P250 deep inside of the bomb site is cleaned up. Queenix finds another onto Urson, and Roga, the last player alive inside a lower pit, will be found out and snuffed out. Masonic. Oh, Lord. They keep things in place and afloat. And that call from Dabbing Koalas to rotate all 5 members right into the bomb site, it was the correct call from them. And I was starting to be skeptical as to whether or not Masonic could actually win it out. I mean, I know it was mostly pistols on the side of Dabbing Koalas, but Masonic, that could have very much gone the other way. And if it did, we wouldn't be playing this round. This is what could potentially be the last round on Inferno for Masonic. They have to play this one to their best abilities. And Joel, I love this position that he's taken up, and he's got so much backup. Masonic, they don't really stand a chance in these kind of engagements, but the flashes are timed properly, but they still suffer a casualty. Krogan falls. Raga narrowly able to shut down tops as well. 4v5 to ensue right here. And Masonic, they can redirect their attention over towards B. There's only one player hunkering down, and that's going to be Maki. And I know Maki is a little bit of a scary name to say out loud, because he has been ripping and tearing his way through Masonic throughout this entire series thus far. And if there's anyone that you want to anchor down and be the linchpin by himself, he's the guy you want. But Masonic, once again, having a slight change of heart in time is really starting to come into question. It's really starting to become an issue, one that they have to force out. 20 seconds on the dot. Masonic, they're starting to work their way in, but they're right into the open arms of Joel. He finds 2. Raga with 2 of his own. Black tries to keep things under wraps, but Masonic, they falter at the very last execution. The Koalas, they have shown us that gods can bleed quite badly. That is a 2-0 victory set in stone by the Koalas. Masonic, they no longer have that flawless win record to their name, having played 6 maps in the regional Swiss and having won all 6 of those. Now moving into the main Swiss event, they've played 2 and dropped 2, not even to force our decider map of Overpass. And I know that's something a lot of you guys wanted to see. I know you guys wanted to see Overpass moving all the way to that lovely little terrace and bank area in Berlin, but it might just have to wait for another day. Either way, that is going to close off what we currently have on the A stream. Obviously, very, very shortly, in roughly about an hour's time at 7 p.m. CET, we will have Sangal going up against Anonymo, and currently on the B stream we still have, if I'm not mistaken, Berserk going up against Lakaka, and then obviously later at 7 p.m. CET on the B stream we will have Los Reyes versus Eternal Fire, which I know a lot of you guys are going to be excited to see. Los Reyes A if you're a Danish fan, but on top of that, Eternal Fire as well. A lot of people are going to be excited to see them in action, but that is going to do everything that I have to offer myself. Somebody will be coming in to fill in for me for the rest of the evening, and that is going to be B-Dog. So make sure to go ahead and spread some love to him. Make sure to go ahead and show some love towards us on the side of production. You can go ahead and follow me on Twitter if you'd like right there. Make sure to go ahead and follow us on Twitter as well at HCG_esport. Big thank you to everyone on the side of production, everyone that makes everything that we do here possible, including our sponsors Coin Motion as well as Plasma. You can scroll down below if you want to check them out on the panels, but that is all that we have to offer. We will see you guys back here for the next matchup at 7 p.m. CET. Until then, take care, stay safe, and we'll see you back here soon.
Count